Hi, I'm an educational consultant with advanced clinical documentation for nurses and other conditions. We are educational consulting and tutoring service, and our website is www.acd4n.com. I can also be reached by email at advancednurses@acd4n.com. And so I just wanted to answer a few questions. Well, first of all, I want to start off just talking about my journey into nursing. Prior to becoming a nurse, I was working in case management. I was working as a therapeutic support staff. Some people may or may not know that role, but it's really working in more of a therapeutic role. And I was working with children. But one thing about that role, it really helped me appreciate the understanding or the importance rather of working with people at within different disciplines. So working with mobile therapists, psychiatry, working even across the families and community services for children. And so when I became a nurse, I wanted to kind of really stay in that area. But when I was in nursing school, I didn't really see a lot of case management training in nursing school. It was more so focused on nursing, working at the bedside. And I know I didn't want to be a bedside nurse. So it really didn't attract me in any way, more so than I was already enrolled in the program. So I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish out this nursing school program. But personally, I knew that I really didn't want to work at the bedside. But again, because my background was working in case management, behavioral health, I did say, maybe I'll do psych nursing. So I did psych nursing for a few years, and then I went into case management. Now, the case management role that really transformed, I would say, my life or the way I wanted to go as far as the direction in nursing was when I was working for a PACE program. So that is programs all inclusive care for elderly. And the thing about PACE programs, it's a CMS program. So for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, it's a program for individuals who are 55 and up with chronic conditions and their community dwelling elderly. And so uh, I really enjoyed working in that capacity because I was again working across a lot of different disciplines, you know, occupational therapy, physical therapy. And I also had the opportunity to really learn about how things were getting paid for. Because it was a PACE program, we took on the financial responsibility of the members and we were like an all around, comprehensive care program. But we did get our services were reimbursed by, CMS. So therefore I was exposed to risk adjustment. And I didn't quite know that's what I was exposed to or what I was like kind of working within that kind of realm or within that population because I really just didn't know anything about that. At the time that I was working at this PACE program, I had already been teaching for a year. I had earned my master's in nursing education. But again, I really didn't know where I wanted to go next as far as nursing. I went to grad school to become a nurse educator. But after a year of teaching, I realized, man, this nursing education just really isn't it. Like they're what they're teaching nurses in nursing schools for the most part is not really, I think, really reflecting the kind of opportunities that's out in the field. So yes, I know someone's going to say, oh well, when you first become a nurse you should be trying to get those clinical skills. Yeah, I get it, but we have to be honest, and most nurses can tell you, especially seasoned nurses, that there are a lot of these nursing roles out here today that even seasoned nurses cannot apply to because they lack the technical skills. And I'll get to a little bit of that later. So going back to working at this PACE program, I really enjoyed working across different disciplines. But one of the things I was able to, I guess, pleasure or privilege that I had was meeting a nurse who's also a coder. And I've told this story before. But the thing about this nurse is that this nurse was actually embodying to me what the future of healthcare was. But this wasn't the most unique role in the sense where there are other nurses at the time that was coding just like he was, but it was very rare, of course, a male nurse um, coding, and he was working alongside other nurses, but he wasn't working at the bedside. He was up in the office, concerned about what was going on in the billing and clinical documentation improvement. And so I actually, when I met him, I asked him some questions about, like, how could you get me up out of this case management rut? Because at that time, I knew I didn't want to be a nurse educator. I know I didn't want to do case management any longer, not in the capacity I was doing, where I was doing that direct patient care kind of case management. And so he said, well, let's exchange numbers. So after that, I just started studying and learning about ICD-10 codes with him. He taught me about risk adjustment, about resources that I could really explore to learn more about it. And then, after years of investing, time, resources, and, expanding my education and my knowledge rather in those areas, I decided to pursue my certification as a certified risk adjustment coder. And I'm so proud of that accomplishment, but I realized that even without the certification, I had already increased my earning potential to about $40,000. So at the time when I met him, I was making $80,000. And by the next time I was offered a position, I was already being offered $40,000 more without me even having a certification. Now, when I started at this new job, after a while of working there, of course, like leaving the PACE program, but working still for another Medicare Advantage plan, that is when I went and earned my uh, CRC, my Certified Risk Adjustment Code certification. So I was so proud of myself. And I realized at that point in time that I needed to change the direction of my curriculum. Because at this time, I was already working on curriculum, but it was more focused on clinical documentation improvement and really just a concept, conceptually exposing nurses to it, connecting nurses with resources, because I myself had actually invested in learning and pursuing that certification. And that didn't work out for me. Because I'll be honest with you, the first certification I ever went to pursue was 6 months after learning all this, studying ICD-10 codes, studying ICD-10 PCS. After all of that, I went and decided to take the CDIP exam with a HEMA, and I didn't pass. Not surprising, I didn't pass. It was something that was over my head. Quite honestly, a lot of the concepts were things that I knew nothing about. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 70 to pass, and I got like something like a 61 or 62. I was devastated. In hindsight, I think about it and I'm like, well, I did pretty good considering that I had just learned all this stuff over the past 6 months. But what helped me to understand is how much of this information is necessary and would benefit any nurse, whether they wanted to get certifications or not. And so I started to write curriculum around clinical documentation improvement and how it relates to nursing. Now, that's not a unique concept. If you go to AHIMA, AHIMA, if you go to their website, you will see that they have, and within their body of knowledge, um, many writings and articles on nurses who work in CDI and nursing as being kind of like the starting point, if you may, for CDI, right? Not nursing alone, because of course you have a lot of the health information management uh, professionals, that's their arena, right? But you have nurses working in that capacity as well. And there's enough evidence to support that nurses have been, still do, and are offered all the time, including myself, positions to work in CDI without you even having the certification. But again, if you don't need the certification, it's good to have it because you need to demonstrate that you understand ICD-10 coding guidelines and rules. But without the certification, if there is a job market that will hire nurses to work in CDI roles that pretty much will give them time to earn the certification or train them in the role without them actually being certified, then obviously this is information that nurses should know. Again, this is a job market that I'm learning about, but this is not what I'm saying reflected in nursing education. This is not reflected in nursing education at all. So again, I'm still very much focused on writing this curriculum. Again, like I said, I went on to, after writing curriculum, worked on curriculum for some years, I went on and earned my CRC, right? So once I learned about risk adjustment coding, it was years after I had met that nurse who mentored me. It was years after leaving that PACE program. And I realized that nurses really needed to be able to bridge the gap between data analytics, risk adjustment, ICD-10 coding, and understanding how it all comes together. And with that being said, I had then went on to go through a certificate program NYU was actually offering through a curriculum platform called Pathstreams. And um, they actually had a course that was on Tableau. It was Tableau and SQL, so structured query language. And this was the second time I was actually learning SQL. So I was pretty versed in SQL prior to taking this course, but this course was specific on Tableau. And so Tableau is really an enterprise tool that really helps you with data visualization. So moving data from spreadsheets really and moving it so that you can actually see, have these beautiful, graphs, tables, charts, heat maps. You can do storybooks. You can, tell a whole story about data just using a bunch of different types of visualization tools. So um, honestly, I was really excited about that. But I realized on a very basic level that nurses didn't know Excel. Again, coming from nursing education myself, teaching it for a year, I realized what course teaches nurses Excel? What certain course teaches nurses Google Analytics? And so I'm like, okay, there's clearly a gap in nursing education. And it brought me back to how I felt when I was in nursing school, like I really just didn't belong there. Love nursing, love science, love working with others, love helping people, but just did not feel like I was being represented there. And what I came to find out over some time is because I really am more of an analytical person. I really like the idea of coding. I love the integration of technology in healthcare. And I love being kind of in the forefront of where healthcare is going. So that's just a brief story of a brief, long story, the long version of a short story of how I kind of got here where I am today. But again, just with acquiring the knowledge, I was able to increase my salary and my earning potential $40,000. And so this is really a gift that I want to extend to other nurses. I know that there are nurses out here that are either burnt out and you're tired of bedside nursing. You may feel disrespected by management at times when decisions are being made and you feel like you don't have a voice. Maybe you have never really thought that nursing was really for you, but it was something to do better than doing nothing. I would probably want to encourage you. I would recommend, I would suggest, seek opportunities, even in your current place of employment, where you can manage data. Even if it's spreadsheets that you receive every single day, be curious about what's on that spreadsheet. Ask questions. If there's an analytics department, most companies now can't do anything without the analytics department. Their analytics department, their IT department is pretty much running the show, right? So every single department, whether it's finance, wherever, they're all integrated and working along with the analytics department. Ask your analytics department if they can explain to you some of the information, especially if you have a manager who's kind of like more so that person who receives those reports and then sends those reports to you, or mail them, email them out to throughout your department, maybe to give everyone a kind of review on what's going on as far as productivity or performance measures. Ask them to explain those things to you. If you're having like large employee or department meetings, and in those meetings, spreadsheets are being, put up on the screen and everybody's talking about, the numbers. Maybe you may see some people who are well versed, very detailed, very technical, asking very technical questions. Some other people may be more so on the side of presenting that information. So they may be the individuals who have more so influence around how that information was gathered, so they can speak to what's going on that spreadsheet or that graph or that table, that chart. Ask about the information. Ask about what's on the spreadsheet. Ask about what's going on there. What how are we using that data to make business decisions. I find that if you start off with curiosity, it tends to lead you down the pathway that you belong. And I know for me, my calling in life has always been to help people. I've never been one to make things about me. So you would probably never find me, somebody would have to surprise me for me to hand somebody a mic for them to talk about me in exhaust. That's just me. That's just my personality. I'm really about helping others. And so essentially I started my course I started my business back in 2019 because I really wanted to help nurses who are like me, who wanted to have other options in healthcare, love nursing, love learning, love, using their clinical knowledge, but just did not want to do so any longer or maybe at all in a capacity where they are working at the bedside. Now, here's my thing. I can hear it already. Some people saying, well, nurses need to have experience doing this and this first. Well, you know what? I know of, and anyone can tell me if I'm wrong, nurses coming out of nursing school now going straight to NP programs, didn't spend one day at anybody's bedside. So if a nurse can do that and go ahead and become a provider, prescribe and diagnose, you can come out of nursing school and learn ICD-10 coding. You can come out of nursing school and become a certified risk adjustment coder. You can come out of nursing school and become any one of those other coding specialists. You don't have to stop at, oh, well, let me work at the bedside for a couple of years and no, you can go ahead and go get your paperwork if that's what you want to do. I just want to be able to help you in that process. I also want to be able to give you support. I also want you to feel that as you are moving away from the bedside, and it's going to be scary if you don't know anyone around you who's doing anything besides the typical, oh, I don't want to be RN, I want to be a nurse practitioner. I don't want to be a regular RN. Let me put it that way. I want to be a nurse practitioner. If that's not the pathway you want to go, you don't necessarily want to go back to grad school, or you don't want to go back to school, rather, you don't want to go to grad school or get your bachelor's, and maybe you're an LPN and you have not pursued any other education besides becoming an LPN, and that's or maybe you have a bachelor's degree, who knows, and you're LPN. I mean, there's a myriad of scenarios that I can go on. But the truth is, depending on your pathway in nursing, or depending on what you want to explore in nursing, there's different entry levels points to that. We know that. That's the one thing about nursing. You can enter nursing as an LPN, on a diploma, bachelor, a master's level. It's really that kind of profession. I would definitely encourage you to explore entering into medical coding the same way. If you are an LPN and that's the paperwork that you have, taking your nursing knowledge and go ahead and getting the coding certification, you won't regret it. You will not regret it. You'll be highly marketable. You'll have specialized knowledge. And in that space where you're using that coding certification, you'll be able to move across into a different discipline, which is health information management. So I would encourage any nurse to think out of the box and don't be afraid to do something different. If you are unhappy with where you are at nursing, it won't matter anybody's opinion because you're not happy. So do what makes you happy. Let me support you in that process. If what you want to do is something that is outside of the realm of what I cover in my services, I know exactly who to send you over to. Yep, that's the kind of service I have. So I want you to reach out to me. Again, advanced nurses at acd4n.com. Again, that is advanced nurses at acd4n.com. Or you can reach out to me at www.acd4n.com/contact and leave a message on my contact page. It was a pleasure speaking with you today, and I wish you the very best. Take care.